Welcome back to Cryptos Are Us. I am George. We're all George. So today is looking very different than yesterday. Futures market indicated a minus 1,500 open yesterday, and today plus 1,200. So today it looks like we're going to have a huge rebound, and that includes Bitcoin and crypto. And this is during all the tariff escalation that we're hearing about. So let's discuss everything that's going on today. All the big news. All right, let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Welcome. We are starting out the day right around, well, we were at 80,000. Right around $80,000 Bitcoin. We almost had that V-shaped recovery right back to 83,000, but I think we will be back there shortly. So that would be absolutely fantastic. We're seeing a lot of green today all around. You can see like Hedera's up 8% today. ADA's up almost 5%. Sol's up 4%. XRP up 3%. AVAX up 5%. You know, you got a lot of green today. And look at this. Dow is opening up plus 1,300. And NASDAQ is plus 560. So today is the exact opposite of yesterday. Although yesterday, we did end up closing at almost near zero. So it actually didn't end up being so bad. But, you know, this is one of those days where you could take it one of two ways. One is this could just be a relief rally. It could be a dead cat bounce. It could just be, you know, one of those blips. And then we're going to get a lot more red. Or you could take this as, well, whatever Trump is doing is working, and Wall Street is now recognizing that there is a plan behind the madness. And with all the countries that now seem to be bending the knee and calling and trying to make a deal, that maybe this is actually working. And then Wall Street is now buying back everything that it has sold, right? So you could take it one or two ways. Obviously, all the tariff stuff is not resolved, okay? Not by a long shot. It's only been like 2 weeks, so it's not like everything has been resolved. One big one that hasn't been resolved, and it seems like it's going to escalate more, is with China, because China does not like how the U.S. put retaliation tariffs on its goods. So China said it will fight to the end. And then Trump threatened to put more tariffs. So that will start tomorrow. So the tariffs on Chinese goods will be like 80-something percent, 85%, 84%. Starting tomorrow. And then China will probably retaliate. But here's the thing. Ben said, you know, this is a big mistake because China's playing with a losing hand, because U.S. buys a lot more from China than China buys from the U.S. So they could be, you know, they could be playing tariff wars with the U.S., but they're going to lose. That may be so. But there are a lot of people that are saying that what the U.S. is doing, or what Trump is doing, is driving a lot of, or maybe driving a lot of countries to be doing more trade with China. So they may be offsetting that by doing more trade with other countries. It's all speculation at this point, right? And maybe China does also come to the table and make a deal soon too. We don't know. We don't know. So this obviously is still ongoing. And it's not just with China, with EU too. Just yesterday I reported that Trump rejected EU's offer of just going 0 tariffs. So he wants to see more. And so obviously EU did not like that. And they're going forward with their retaliation tariffs. So there's a lot more unresolved business. So, you know, you just gotta wait and see, basically. Okay, not everything is resolved, but it seems like things may be getting better. Maybe we'll see how today goes. We'll see how today goes, and we'll see. But one thing is for certain: quantitative easing, okay, is going to come. I've been talking about it for the U.S., how we're waiting for it. But it's happening in other countries as well, right? Because quite frankly, countries around the world, they're not doing so well. Because we had elevated inflation, or elevated rates, I should say, excuse me, for so long. Economies around the world been waiting to cut rates, right? To jolt up their economies, to inject liquidity for quite some time. And we were on that path last year. And this year, we're supposed to do it. And, you know, and then we got disrupted by rising inflation and now this. But China is looking to step in. They've been doing a lot of capital injection, and they will do more. Okay, so that is what they plan on doing. And us in the U.S., we're waiting for that as well, right? When we have that true bottom, I think that's going to come soon, either May or June. That's when we get our true bottom, and that's when we rise again. Now, unfortunately, because of yesterday's recovery from that nasty open, I was looking at the percentage for that rate cut for next month. It has dropped down, unfortunately. Yesterday, this was at like 40-something percent, 45%, I think, if I recall. It was very close to 50% in terms of having a rate cut next month. That has dropped down to 22% again. And that's because the stock market has recovered quite a lot. And today, we're in the green again. So this is counterintuitive to what we actually want. We actually need more short-term suffering to get that quick easing that everyone's looking forward to, right? If we don't have that quick suffering, then this will be prolonged. So now it looks like for sure we will get that cut in June with a 71% chance. So it looks like we have to wait another month and a half if things stay the course. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. So that is what's going on a macro scale. But like I've been saying, Bitcoin has no tariff. Bitcoin does not really care about any of these things, because Bitcoin is not a person or a country. Bitcoin is pure, and it continues to move forward. And there are a lot of great things still happening, of course. In the U.S., major things are changing for the better. Here's something else. The Department of Justice disbands their crypto enforcement unit because there are major changes, right? Obviously, the SEC has dismissed almost every single case they had opened. We have a new crypto czar, right? We have a pro-crypto president, and there are a lot of new frameworks and regulations being created. So every enforcement unit or agency that we had, basically all of them are being dismantled, and everything is going to be redone for the better. So this is very, very positive, right? For Bitcoin crypto moving forward. Very positive indeed. It marks a new era for Bitcoin and crypto. Once we get through all this chaos, all the tariff stuff, once we find that bottom, and we will recover, it will be enormous. Enormous. I mean, just look at what happened yesterday, right? We had some fake news about how Trump was going to halt the tariffs for 90 days. And the markets shot up to the moon. Everything. That included Bitcoin, that included stock market, that included everything. And that was based on fake news. That shows you how oversold everything is. It shows you how anxious people are at putting money back in, right? So when we do get a reversal, just think about how fast it'll be. How fast Bitcoin will get back to 100,000 plus. It could be within a week, right? Even though we've been suffering for a couple of months, Bitcoin could get back to 100,000 within a week once we find that bottom. The recovery, I think, is going to be extremely fast. There are so many people sitting on our sidelines right now, anxious to put in their money. And not just people, but funds and institutions. They have their billions ready to be, launched and invested. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And obviously Bitcoin is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and more people are recognizing that. Day to day, week to week, you may not see that, but the best example I could give is if you look at Bitcoin during the last recession in 2020, what was the low point at Bitcoin in 2020? Some of you guys know, because some of you guys lived through that. Bitcoin fell down to $3,800 briefly. It went from $10,000 in a single day. It fell down from $10,000 to $3,800. And then it stood below $10,000 for approximately 3 months. That's how bad it was in 2020. And look at where we are now. Approximately $80,000. $4,000, $80,000. Okay, so every single cycle, yes, Bitcoin gets much, much stronger as more people recognize it as an inflation hedge and as a store of value. And the next cycle after this, Bitcoin could drop down to 200, 300,000, and people will feel depressed once again. But that's dropping down maybe from 500,000 or $1 million, right? Every cycle, we see Bitcoin form a much higher high and a much higher low. That's just how it is, right? So you got to grab some while you can. And here's the good news. According to many, not just me, the bull run is going to continue. This is from Plan B. A lot of you guys know the stock to flow model. He's looking at the 200-week. There's two means: 200-week arithmetic mean and geometric mean, and how they're like really close together. And he's looking at how those two back in 2017 and 2021, when they were really close together, that was the precursor to when Bitcoin really started rising up. You could see the black and gray line when they were squeezing together in 2017. That was the precursor to the huge run. And 2020, precursor to the huge run. And now we're seeing that again. So he's arguing the bull run is going to be coming soon, right? And it makes sense. After we get that quantitative easing, I think so too. It makes a whole lot of sense. Makes a whole lot of sense. And short term, here we go. On a weekly scale, it looks like we're flashing a buy. And the next target could be back to 88,000. As long as we could break above that 82,000, right? So I mentioned that. I mentioned how 82,000 has been a pretty good, solid floor. Love to see Bitcoin above that. And if we could break above that, possibly today, seeing how the stock market is doing so well and we get some good buys, if we could see Bitcoin go back above 82,000, we could see Bitcoin bounce right back up to 88,000. And then we're not too far off from six figures once again. We'll see. We'll see. All right, lastly, we have some Ripple news. Ripple gets its first ETF today, which is interesting. This is not a spot one. This is a derivative cash-based one. And it's a 2x version. It gets a XXXRP, which is a 2x leverage XRP ETF. Again, it's not a spot ETF. It's based on just the movement of XRP. But it's interesting that it's not even based on a 1x performance of XRP. It's a 2x version of XRP. So if you don't play with crypto and you just want to play with stocks and you want to, track XRP's performance by 2x, this is the one to go with. It's kind of interesting. The first one is a leveraged one. So, but outside of that, Ripple also announced that it acquired a prime broker called Hidden Road for $1.25 billion. So obviously, Ripple is not strapped for cash. They have plenty of cash in the bank. And in case you're wondering, Hidden Road is, they deal with mostly hidden institutions. So they help institutions buy crypto and stocks and fixed income and everything else. So Ripple is getting into that game. And they just announced that today. That's a big, big purchase. All right. U.S. market is still holding very well. 1,200 for Dow. MicroStrategy finally seeing some love today. Plus 4%. Tesla seeing 4%. Coinbase seeing 4%. Apple saying 2%. So a little bit. They didn't go up nearly as much as they went down yesterday. Crypto overall is up today, but not that much yet. We'll see if we get a bigger bounce soon. All right, let's do some Q&A. JEA Senator Super Chat. About 44 million Bitcoin is the beginning of the end game. Not too far away in 2040. Do you mean $44 million per Bitcoin? Maybe someday. I don't know. Vegan Eddie. Good morning. Should I DCA into ISO 20022? And do you think it'll be a catalyst for a big run? Well, some of those coins that were compliant did well. But they also were American-based coins that got a boost because of Trump and administration and all the changes that were happening in the US. So it wasn't just because they were ISO compliant. And this whole ISO compliant thing is kind of a sham. Anyone could say they're ISO compliant. It's like a self-compliancy thing. You go to ISO 20022's website. In their Q&A section, there's actually a section that says, which cryptocurrencies are ISO compliant? And it actually says none of them. So it's like self-governed certification. But with that said, the ones that you have listed, a lot of them have done very well. I would concentrate on the American-based ones, which include XRP, XLM, Algo, HBAR, ADA. I don't know if XLM is American-based, but those other four are. Chit chat. I keep hearing thought about quantum power ending Bitcoin. That's been said for many, many years. Just don't worry about it. Farcoin obviously is for money laundering. I don't know, but quite possibly. You could argue that about basically any NFT or any meme coin. Maybe. Yeah, I want to see a bigger pump. I want to see this I want to see huge green candles that push us upwards. No reason why we're not pumping more right now. Do you have any thoughts on CRO coin? Not really. The only thing I do like is they have that relationship with Trump Media, and they're going to be launching a lot of ETFs. So that gives them a leg up. Exclusive ETFs that only they will have. Outside of that, the exchange is fine. I'm not a big fan of the chain. Liberty Intrust says Bitcoin needs to get to 67, 72K before next pump. I disagree with that. In fact, we were just at 74,000. Did I see the NVIDIA HBAR news? No, I did not. Mantra and Ethnia, big money with institutions. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. Vice President of Engineering at NVIDIA shared a post on LinkedIn highlighting how the two teams are working together to bring AI and blockchain together. The idea is to use Hedera to verify AI-generated data in real time, which is becoming more important. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. That explains today's 8% pump. Actually, this says it's 20%. Although TradingView only says 8%. Well, it's 15% now. I don't know why CoinMarketCap doesn't refresh anymore. So that's pretty cool. Jorge, thank you. Noel. I'm not going to repeat that. Limitless Adventures, I did for a while, and then it stopped working, so I'm on and off. A lot of times I try to skip breakfast if I can, but after a while your body just gets used to it. So you have to combine it. I find it if you want weight loss, you have to combine it with something else. But good for you. What do you think about Pindle? I don't have any thoughts on Pindle. Not something that I pay attention to. Man, we need some more volume. Where's all the buying? Man, today is a really good day. The thing is, it's too early to make the call that, yeah, Wall Street is turning around, right? Today could just be a relief day. I made this comparison that the situation we're in right now reminds me a lot of like 2008. We had many, many, many red days, and then we have random green days, like bounce days, relief days, and then we continue to red days, right? So this could be different because obviously all the tariff stuff is still new, and we're starting to see, if true, a lot of countries trying to make deals, and that's why Wall Street is very positive about it. And not just Wall Street. Yesterday, Asia was in green, very green. Europe in green. So everyone's kind of like getting used to the fact that, this could end sooner than later. More deals will be made. And if that's the case, we could be bouncing back way sooner than expected. The problem is this pushes quantitative easing back by another month. But I guess it doesn't matter. If the markets are doing well and it pushes markets back, easing back by another month, month and a half, I guess it doesn't really matter. That's the trade-off. Regardless, we're going to get a rate cut. Either in May or June, one of the 2 months. And once we do, it's going to be golden. In case I showed this before, in case you're wondering why, this point right here that I didn't even know about until I looked it up later. This exact point, this apex point right here, is when the Fed started quantitative easing last year. They did that 50 basis point cut, and that marked the exact bottom for Bitcoin last year. And that's when Bitcoin found its footing and started going upwards. So that was the exact point that Bitcoin started not going downwards, stopped its downward trajectory, and started going upwards, right? So, so I think it's going to be like that again. Lotus Pond. George, do you think Bitcoin and gold will replace USD and Euro as a new world currency in the future? No. You always need some kind of fiat because as Bitcoin gets more and more valuable, less and less people want to spend it. And it'll be the same thing with gold to some extent, but it's going to take a lot longer than that for gold. And it's just so hard to spend gold, honestly, right? It's easy to spend Bitcoin, but who wants to spend Bitcoin? We hear about all the stories about early people who got in, they bought pizzas or bought whatever with their Bitcoin, and now they've wasted hundreds of millions of dollars. So who's going to be wanting to spend Bitcoin? So that's why Bitcoin will be a horrible fiat replacement. Stable coins, on the other hand, they will take over. Or CDBCs. Yeah. Michael, any concerns over China? Seems like they'll be the last one to make the deal, if at all. They will make a deal. Probably the last ones to make a deal, but they will make a deal. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. China doesn't want to be pushed around, right? And I get that. But if you think about it, the U.S. buys a lot more from China than China buys from the U.S. So in the long run, this hurts them more, right? Even if the tariff wars kept going, we had, let's say both countries have over 100% tariff on goods on each other. Who gets hurt more? China does, because they lose a much bigger portion of their GDP from us not buying from them than them not buying from us, right? But the only counter to that is if they could offset that with other countries. If they could somehow convince other countries that are buying from them instead and offsetting that, then they would be okay. But it'd be really hard to find other countries to offset the buying power, the purchasing power of the U.S. That fast, right? Like, for example, if Canada and Mexico, if they're like disgruntled right now, they could go to China and say, well, you know what, we'll buy more from you. But you combine the purchasing power of Canada and Mexico, it's nowhere close to the purchasing power of the U.S. So that's not going to offset the U.S. So I think China's going to suffer more, but they can, they could continue to do quantitative easing and printing their own money for quite a long time, and they could suffer that for quite a long time. So I don't know when they're going to make a deal. But here's the thing, though. When we talk about China versus US, you got to realize that there's casualties on both sides. I've been mentioning this. You can't just look at it's Chinese companies versus American companies. A lot of American companies produce their goods in China. A lot of American companies can go bankrupt from this. So it's not just like you're making China suffer. A lot of big American-based companies can go bankrupt from this. I mean, and things could get very expensive. And I already mentioned this. Apple is one of them. Apple has all their products made in China. Tesla too. Tesla, even though they have gigafactories in America, their biggest gigafactories in China. They have a lot of parts and some cars coming out of China. Nike is another one. Obviously, all their shoes, all their shirts, every merchandise they sell is out of China. You look at store, clothing manufacturers, anything. They're all out of China. A lot of companies will go bankrupt if the tariff wars continue on. The big companies probably won't, but they will pass on the additional fees to us. iPhone 17 could be double the cost. JEA. Okay, I agree with you. Akonda, no questions today. I am now 125,000 below my purchase level. Fingers crossed. Just stay strong and hold on. They don't need to go away. They just need to move back to the US. That's easier said than done. It takes time to move a whole supply chain back to the US. And even if they do, keep in mind, the reason why they were overseas in the first place is due to cheap labor, right? You move everything back to the US, even though you save on the tariffs, labor in the US is substantially more, so the price of the goods are still going to go up. So they have to weigh that. Or they move it overseas to another country with lower tariffs, and they do it that way. So there's a lot to think about. Nike produces half their shoes out of Vietnam. That may be why there's a 34% tariff out of Vietnam. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll let you guys go. But today so far is looking good. It could be much better. It could be much better. U.S. markets is looking very, very good. Bitcoin and crypto moved slightly, but I think we can move a lot more by the end of today. So we'll see. But what I really want to see is Bitcoin get right back up to about that 82, 83,000 level. That's where we want to see it. And we are ready. We're ready for that. And everything else is ready to climb back up too. So stay strong, guys. Stay focused. Continue to hold on DCA. And make sure you smash up that like button. And subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys later, maybe tonight. Either way, I'll stream tonight or put out a video 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one, guys. Take care.